endlessly searching for an original sin.
Where is the thing I'm looking for? Lurking is always much appreciated, but I like talking to you guys. So this is a demo. This is a demo version, which is fine. I'd like it in window, please, so I can actually read things. Thank you. Now, if you guys didn't know, Werewolf has announced that there is going to be a game, which is pretty cool. There's actually going to be a new Werewolf game. This is like a visual novel type thing. They've done a few of these. So let's look at this demo. Well, actually, there's one other horror demo I want to... You know what? I'll save that for tomorrow. There's a horror demo I want to jump into, but I might save that for this weekend. No, you can't take the soul of the liquors. If you can have a superpower, what would it be? It's a good question. Is being rich a superpower? Devil, if you ever need help with your resume or stuff, you can ask Rebellion and stuff. They would help you. Not unless you count Batman. I want Batman's superpower. Or Superman's, because that means I get all the superpowers. Okay, tutorial. This game is about rage and how it helps us do things that need to be done, as well as things that we later regret. Sometimes both. How do you feel about that? Great. I'm always angry. I'm okay with anger when it's useful. Well, I prefer to think before I act. I could say this one, but considering I don't, I guess I'll go with this one. It can be useful. It's doing it again? I thought. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Is that better? Let me know if it's still too loud. I'll turn it down just a smidgen. Here we go. So you don't like to think. I like to try to think things through, but I also tend to not be able to, so I will usually jump into stuff or say something before. Well, no, I like to think things through when I'm doing something, but when I go to talk, I don't always think things through, if that makes sense. Like, my brain goes fat, like, I say something before my brain fully catches up, if that makes sense. So you're the critical and analytic type. That's okay. There's no right path here. Just your decisions and their consequences. Let's start already. We've a story to tell. I get it. My decisions need to be fair and just. Let's just follow the path and see where it takes us. That's usually actually how I act. I like Aquaman. The forest. Okay, the forest. The woods are full of stars. They flicker, come closer, run away. They want me to chase them, to play hide and seek. I hunt, I observe, I hide, I observe. I watch as they dance around the tree trunks, floating up on the gusts of wind that shiver through the branches, disappear among the leaves. There are words in their dance, but I don't understand them yet. Then they bunch up and fly towards me like an arrow. Rushing down, they're soon upon me. But just before the spear of light pierces my breast, they disappear and the dark of the night returns. Balanced. In the darkness, I feel the tangled roots of stories, keeping the forest alive, and I hear the spirits asking me to judge the enemy. I open my eyes. This is going to be pretentious, isn't it? And then I wake up. Cold and alone. Confused, I open my eyes. The forest around me is thick, dark, and reeks of decay, to such an extent that it's hard to breathe. Something's rotten. I know the forest. Something is rotten. The stench, both fascinating and repulsive, is everywhere. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy, are covered in ripples of lichen where the vines haven't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base are overrun with nettle. The fungi radiate with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms cling to the fallen trees. Something's wrong. I can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. I look down and see my hands covered in a dark substance. I'm naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid is clinging to my skin. I can feel it on my face, in my hair, blood. Nature is never quiet. The leaves rustle in the wind. Small creatures scuttle in the undergrowth. There is a whisper. I don't understand what it means, but the world resonates in my head. Garou? Garou? Who said that? There is a severed head right in front of me. I wince and touch it. I'm gonna touch it. Who said that? There is a severed head right in front of me. Overcome my disgust, I gently touch its wet hair and watch as the head topples over. Sometimes choices are hard to make and they strain your willpower. The face is contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open as though the head were still struggling for air. I balk because I recognize who it is, and then eyes open in the dark. The enemy? Who is it? I can see their silhouette, shades of jet black against the darkness. They smell of fur and moss, the bloodied earth, massive creatures, and with horns, some with antlers. Their eyes burn like small fiery windows into hell. I look at them, and something wakes up inside of me. Yeah, why not? It is basically story time, Purity. They tell me stories of their lost battles and dying hopes, and I sink with sorrow. I sit and listen and cry with them. Then I swear to punish those who have wronged them. In a moment of clarity, I almost understand what the forest wants from me. Then I wake up. This might actually be fun to do a little bit of this. We're going to do 2 chapters of this, and then maybe we'll do more. I think this might just be it for this demo. I wouldn't mind doing something like this during each stream. Maria, wake up! Or Maya. No, I'm going with Maria. I jerk upright, irritated. My neck was stiff, and the movement sent a sudden, sharp wave of discomfort through my body. I know how that feels. I wasn't in the forest anymore. I was sat on a bus. The sun streaming through the windows was making it hard to see. The girl next to me was touching my shoulder. What happened? What happened? Overcome with the urge to push her away was hard. She looked at me concerned. You were crying in your sleep. I blinked. The memory of the dream was still there, and the wet stench of decay. I must have bitten my lip. I thought as I run my tongue over my teeth. The forest outside the window was watching me. The girl next to me shook her head. Thank God we're almost there. Her name was Anya. We'd met a couple of weeks earlier on the orientation day. I almost said oriental. Hold on. Holy, speaking of pain, I'm in the wrong spot for my neck. She was from Norway. A tall, broad-shouldered, calm person who wore her long hair in braids. Somehow I'd managed to talk her into this crazy field trip across the land of my ancestors. Anna is sympathetic. She seems excited. Anna reached into her backpack and took 2 apples. I really am happy we decided to come here, she said. Yeah, I said, offering her some of my cabanossi? Dried meaty sausage that were so much better than the original Polish ones back in the US. What do you got against the Polish? White Wolf Publishing? I was glad Anya had decided to come with me. I had problems keeping friends around and really needed one. I did some searching, she said from over her phone. And this place is amazing. The last primordial forest in Europe. How is it the last... Did you Europeans take down all the forests? Bad Europeans. Bad. Go sit in the corner. Shame chair. Oh, no, I've seen pictures of it from some developers have sent me. It looks like there's got some beautiful places there. Our summer language course was starting in a few weeks, and I'd managed to talk Anya into skipping the tours of concentration camps and old churches. Okay? And visiting, if I say this wrong, forgive me. Biolowiza National Park with me instead. So far it's beautiful, she said, her eyes smiling. But why are we going here again? Good question. Let's see. Why are we here again? There being Białowieża? Hopefully I said that right. Białowieża, a small village in northeast Poland, near the border with Belarus. Belarus, I think. Again, I don't speak Polish, so I'm not sure if I'm saying any of these right. It was famous for its national parks, the very last European bison, and according to a quick web search, occasional tension between far-right troublemakers and local Belarusian community. And it begins. The most honest answer would have been because I've been dreaming about the forest in Białowieża since I can remember. I am going to butcher this language. Belarus? Wait. It's Belarus? What is wrong with the Polish? Spell things phonetically. These have been okay. But people didn't understand when I said things like that. I looked her in the eyes. You won't let me tell her everything. Fine. I keep it simple, and I wouldn't want to freak her out. I'm looking for my roots. I kept it simple, so I wouldn't freak her out. I knew my family was from there. None of my relatives spoke about it, though. There was a lot of things that weren't spoken about in my life. Strange dreams that plagued me, half-forgotten tales about forests and wolves that I had heard before my mom took me, ran away, and cut off all contact with my dad and his family. I waited for her to respond. Anya fell silent for a moment. I think it's great that you come from such a magical place, she smiled. The last ancient forest in Europe, thousands of years old. I wasn't sure if I was fond of that magic, but it was hard to ignore. And I joined you. And that was precisely why I needed to do something, anything about that damn forest and my weird-ass family. I had to face the forest. I learned the truth about my roots. Okay, so if I do one of these games again in the future, and I'll be taking suggestions for them, of course, during the in the suggestions area, I'll probably have a vote going for each of the choices, or at least important choices. And to learn the truth about them. No, it shares. Oh, it shares a border with Belarus. Okay. Once again, I'm sorry if I'm saying any of the words wrong. I don't speak Russian. I don't speak any of the Slavic languages or anything like that. My grandfather's stories, the secrets my mother's running away. The secrets, my mother running away. There was a mystery in my past. It was time I uncovered the truth about who I was. But now I wasn't so sure that it'd be a great idea. Your willpower dropped to 0. When you lose all your health or willpower, you become impaired. I already am, so good luck. This will make physical tasks if you have 0 health, or social and mental tasks if you are at 0 harder, and sometimes impossible. Viola eyes looked like an overexposed photo of a village, with a contrast turned all the way up. The sun wasn't just shining, it was shouting at the earth, and everything. The trees, the grass, the wooden houses, the fences seemed weathered. Everything except the shadows. Are we still on chapter 1? They were sharp as though they were freshly printed with the darkest of ink. For a second, I could have sworn they'd moved, but then I realized it was just a black cat walking down the sidewalk. When it saw me, it stopped in its tracks. Tried to pet it, watched it with suspicion. I tried to pet it. I really would too. Here, kitty kitty, I said, squatting and reaching toward it. In a flash, it swatted my hand away with its paw. Drawing a few drops of blood, I yelped. Hey, Maya, Aya said, looking at me with surprise. Didn't you say your friend would be here waiting for us? But he wasn't there, and the cat was still staring at me. Let's go, Anya said, putting on her backpack. I'm tired and I really, really need to find a toilet. You didn't know what to do. I was too tired and distracted to think clearly. My friend was nowhere in sight. Screw it. I stormed off. I grabbed my backpack and started walking. I hate when people are late, I muttered under my breath. I was walking fast, and it took a while for Anya to catch up to me. I give up on saying that. Had a few hotels and hostels, but the preferred form of accommodation was bed and breakfast. Okay. It's a small village, but it has all that. Okay. That's where we stayed. I found one that was nice, clean, and that had good reviews. We had a room on the 2nd floor with a huge window and a great view of the forest. We had dropped our stuff and freshened up a bit. Maybe we should have waited for your friend, Anna said, concerned. I shrugged. I'll find him sooner or later. Before you go, check out your character sheet. Look for it in the upper left corner. There you go. So we're not very brave. We're not very inspiring. We're kind of spiritual. We're not cunning at all. Condition: impaired. Willpower. Goal: learn your family history. It's complicated. It's pathetic. Okay. I don't have any enemies. There are other things in my mind. I had a clear goal in mind. My family was entangled with this town and the forest. I had to uncover my roots. Anna went with you. Oh, no shit. The forest I dreamed about. It was dark in the woods. Dark, humid, and... Why would you use that twice? Okay. It was dark in the woods. Dark, humid, and chilly. The leaves didn't let through the lot of the sunlight. Daniel looked at Anya and me over his shoulder. How do you like her? We'd met maybe 20 minutes earlier. Anya had Googled local guides, and he was apparently the best person to go to if you wanted to see the forest. So I found him, and now here we were. I wasn't sure whom he meant. He was a strange one. He was neutral. Daniel was a strange guy, slender but muscular. Not the CrossFit type. It was more the kind of strength you get from working all day long in the open. His skin was weather-beaten and bronzed by the sun, like tanned leather, and he moved in a very deliberate way. But his fingers were slim and delicate, and his eyes were the strangest shade of yellow-green. So, he repeated, how do you like her? I wasn't sure whom he meant. Do you mean the forest? I asked. Polish was a strange language that gave the most unexpected genders to objects and ideas. I mean... Oh, God! Russian. Or Polish. I mean... But... Do we have anybody in the chat that can actually tell me how to say this? Pajusha? Pajusha? I tried. Give me a cookie, I tried. The words sounded like the wind rustling in the leaves. Pusha. Pusha. Okay, it's pusha. Pusha. Pusha is the right word, not forest. Forests are like fields or orchards. Pusha is the right word. Not forests. Forests are like fields or orchards cultivated. He spat as he said it. And Pusha, she is older than even the concept of fields. He was using the word as though it was a name. I stood there and watched the forest. I looked at the Pusha again. I looked around with fresh eyes. I felt as though I'd entered an ancient tomb. Gigantic dead trunks were decomposing slowly around me. Young plants and colorful mushrooms sprouting from them. The tree that still lived stretched toward the sky, like columns holding up the vaulted canopy, which blocked out all but a few rays of sunlight. There was stillness, and there was movement. By the way, FYI, if anyone's wondering why I'm having a problem, white text on this background is not easy to read. There was movement, darkness, and light. If spirits existed, that place would be swarming with them. I loved what I saw. It's alien. Yeah, I loved what I saw. I would enjoy it. There should be more places like this, I said, earnestly. Or more of this place. Daniel lifted his head and looked me right in the eyes. Yes, you're right, he said, with a serious expression. Then I remembered why I was here. Perhaps you knew my family? You're a local. Maybe you've heard of my family, I asked. I am not from here, but my family was. I'm not from here, but my family was, I continued. And I think something secret connects me to this place. I dream about the forest a lot. Daniel stopped abruptly and turned to me, watching me for a while. His nostrils flared as though he were testing the air. Yes, his face broke into a smile. I think our families might have known each other. Many winters past. Pusha still remembers. Come on, he started walking. I know exactly what you need to see. Probably a vampire. So I was right. There was something hidden in my family's past, and it seemed to have a lot to do with the forest. Every time you learn or do something significant, That brings you closer to your goal, and you regain your willpower. With every step, I was getting closer to solving the mystery. So I followed him. We have to choose the path, he said. There's the old wolf den, or I could show you the burrows first, or the clearing that some folks call the place of power. Okay, chatroom. Do you want to go to the magical tourist trap, the old stories, families divided, or the ancient graves, buried secrets? This will be the last one we're actually going to be doing before we jump into the next game, but it is up to you guys which one we do. Grave. I'm going to have a drink. Look, the only Russians I ever get to talk to are Akabar, Dahar, and one or two others. I've spoken to a few people from Poland, a few developers I know from Poland, but not much. Graves? Okay. The burrows. We started walking, but after a few steps, he stopped abruptly, like he'd remembered something. Then he turned to me. Could you humor me, please? He asked. Should I do? Depends. I don't know. Why don't you tell me what you want first? He ran his hand through the moss on the dead tree trunk, smelled his finger, and then reached into his pocket. Can I stop having the hiccups? He then took out a small stone. Too small to be a weapon? Something personal? It looked like some of those stones you treasure as a child and then grow out of, but he looked at the pebble as though it were a treasure. The game tracks your decisions on how... No, shh. Calm down, game. I would like you to take this stone. He held out his open hand toward me. And throw it in the direction you think we should go. Sure. Humored him. Okay. I reached for the stone. I took the stone and closed my hand around it. Be careful, whispered Anna. It felt alive. It was warm, and I could feel it pulsing. I closed my eyes and thought about the burrows, trying to imagine that place. I smelled red rock. It was cold. I was alone, and I threw the stone, and I accidentally hit a bird. I felt my hand raising entirely on its own, and then throwing the stone as far as I could. It was a good throw. The stone flew in a long arc over the bushes and disappeared without a trace in the dense undergrowth. Great, Daniel sighed. I was asking for that, wasn't I? What? What? What just happened? I was confused. You were accepted, he answered, with a faint smile before he turned to head deeper into the forest. I have to find my damn stone. Prime, you either become a patron, or you just come to a stream and we're doing it and we say it's open to everybody. We usually do either one. And you have to be part of the Discord, too. That usually helps. The trail soon disappeared. Sometimes we walked along a barely visible path made by some animals. Sometimes we followed a stream or a gully. But for most of our trek, we walked through the dense undergrowth. I was keenly aware that without Daniel, I'd have been totally and utterly lost. And I didn't feel good about that realization. The sun was barely noticeable, though the dense canopy, and I had no idea which direction we were going anyway. It was a pleasant walk. There was always a path through the brambles. The ground was even, and the branches stayed out of our way. I almost felt like the forest wanted us to find the way. Daniel's a mysterious. I decided. You know what? I want to know more about Daniel. Now, this is actually a pretty long demo. I watched the efficient and deliberate way Daniel moved, and I tried to guess his background. Why had he become a guide? I asked the obvious question. Where are you from? I asked the obvious question. From around here. He made a vague gesture. Are you a professional guide? That's what I do for a living. He wasn't very talkative. Leave him be, Anna whispered. That's gonna use up some of my willpower. I'm gonna drop it for now. And I got points. When I watched him, I had a feeling there was something hidden in plain sight, a mystery. I decided to keep an eye on him, so we continued in silence. We had been walking for a while when I noticed that Daniel stopped. Steps had become slower. He was also looking around more often, and hunched slightly. Fuck, we're lost. I'm just enjoying the moment. I sat down on a fallen tree trunk, looking around, and just enjoyed the afternoon. After a moment, Daniel shook his head. They're tricky to find sometimes, he mumbled. Be quiet for a minute, please. That was when I felt it. Ash in my mouth, the smell of smoke and wet soil, and a pull. I knew where to go. I think I know where to go, I said, surprised. He tilted his head. Okay, let's check it out. He pointed to a barely visible path to my left, under a giant tree. He followed me, and I followed my feet, knowing exactly where they should go. Under the crooked tree, past the dead tree trunk, and the sponge-like mushrooms across the patch of wet and dark green moss, all the way to a place that didn't look much different than other parts of the forest, until you noticed the elevations. There was something about the flattened hills that drew my full attention. It must have been bigger than the past I could remember. A memory stirred in my mind. No, it wasn't a memory. It was a feeling anchored in my chest, akin to the taste of ash in my mouth and the smell of smoke, longing, sadness, resignation. But there was more. A sense of sacredness. It filled me with a calm excitement, and when I closed my eyes, I saw a fire burning in the darkness. Voices. The village was no longer gone. Its houses burned to the ground. The village was long gone. Its houses burned to the ground. Its people slaughtered, but the spirits were still there. They'd accumulated over time. Some in ancient Roman armor, some in rags, some in animal skins, some in uniforms from world wars, some in modern camo. Are we dead? Where are we? They asked me, with frantic whispers. Is this hell? There were only echoes. But they weren't real, just echoes of the past. The spirits in the trees were real. When I opened my eyes, Daniel was watching me. You were somewhere else, he said. You said you had family here? I nodded. I dodged the question. I heard that my father's family came from here. I nodded. I don't know much about them, though, he sighed. I don't think you should be here. Now Daniel has turned into a sheep, she said, tersely. You're not ready. He knew something. Why? What do you know? I wasn't letting it go. About you? Not much. But I know the Pusha. The past is close here. His eyes were worried as he looked at me. And if the Pusha calls to you, it is wise to listen, but it's not wise to get lost in the voices. Come! On the way back, I was lost in my thoughts. The voices in the visions knew what I had to do. It's almost as though it was expecting of me. Discarded that thought. What was this? What my family did here? Why had Daniel asked me about my family? Was the vision showing me something my ancestors had done? I accepted it. Go progress! I smiled. A bigger picture was finally starting to come to light. Magic was in my blood. I'm a wizard! Everyone's being so quiet during story time. I'm proud of everybody. Man, this is a long chapter. And before we do more of this chapter, I have to walk the puppy dogs, so I'm going to be right back. So I hope everybody enjoyed story time. When we come back, we'll do some more, and then we'll do... Well, we'll choose. We'll give you guys a choice between continuing this, or we can continue this next time, and we can just jump into the next game. But I'll be right back.
This is a no-go. I just can't take hold. This is a danger zone. Back up and got me. So put your hand in.